All right, so today I want to talk about the Bible as propaganda. If you're familiar with me and my work, you'll know that I see the Bible as propaganda. So I just want to talk about that a little bit today, and I want to start off with some definitions. All right, so this one's from Merriam-Webster. It says, ideas, facts, or allegations spread deliberately to further one's cause or to damage an opposing cause. So I think that's pretty general. It's true, but that could be applied to a lot of different things. I think that Oxford's Lexico gets it a little more accurately, which is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote a political cause or point of view. So, especially in this century and the previous century, it's become propaganda has been more connected with manipulation as opposed to just promoting ideas. And so I think that gets closer to the propaganda that's in the Bible. But really, I see the Bible at its core is deceptive propaganda. So it's not just manipulating the truth, it's lying, to put it simply. So an example of this would be the story of Samson. In the original story, it was based on the son of a sun god, a mythical figure, and the biblical authors don't respond by saying, "Hey, this isn't true. This character never existed. It's just a mythical figure." Instead of saying that, the Bible subverts the narrative and hijacks the story, the original story of Samson, and uses it for its own purposes. So truth and morality is sacrificed for an agenda in the Bible. So Abraham can lie, the Israelites can commit genocide. Like, those are all secondary things. The primary thing is whatever the biblical author's agenda is. So who created this propaganda in the Bible? Well, it wasn't the Illuminati or some global elite. Most of the work I've done, it's been from the Yahwist cult. So the religion of Yahweh at that time, basically promoting the religion, trying to grow it. And back then, religion and politics were very much intertwined. So it wasn't just a religious propaganda, it was a political propaganda as well. And why did they create the propaganda? Well, again, it was to promote their religion, promote their cult, and they had certain benefits of power and wealth. And so that's why, at least in the Old Testament, that's why it was created. In the New Testament, may be a little bit different. So how do you know it's propaganda? Well, it's interesting because propaganda and non-propaganda, they look the same, right? Propaganda, if you knew it was propaganda, it wouldn't be effective propaganda. So it has to look like it's not propaganda. So that makes it difficult to identify. And a lot of the work that I've done, I've showed that the strategy was to subvert the narrative. So instead of taking an existing narrative, like the Samson example I mentioned earlier, instead of coming straight at it and saying, "Hey, this is wrong," it will take elements from that narrative and it will put it into a new context and spin it into a new context so that it promotes its agenda, the biblical author's agenda, instead. Okay, and I do this by what I call reconstructive reading. And if you don't know what that is, be sure to check out my video on reconstructive reading. And but to put it simply, it attempts to reconstruct both the situation the biblical author was responding to and also any information that it was interacting with, whether it was narratives or arguments or philosophies. So, try to think of it as it's a little bit like source criticism, using reconstructive reading to identify propaganda. So, source criticism, a redactor didn't want you to know it's a redaction, right? It wants you to think it's part of the original. But we know that redactors would have anachronisms or a different style of writing, and so there would be these clues, these breadcrumbs, and these glitches that would kind of signal, well, hey, this is a different source, or this is a redactor. And so in the same way with the propaganda, they don't cover all their tracks. When trying to change, for example, a narrative, there's still elements from the old narrative, and sometimes they have a hard time fitting those elements into the new narrative. And so there are glitches and clues and hints of when that's happening. And so we can use those to reconstruct and find out what the propaganda is. And actually, reconstructive reading is kind of source criticism, right? It's identifying a source, but it's a source that's not explicit in the text. And how much of the Bible is propaganda? Well, I would say most of it, except for maybe the Pauline epistles and perhaps some parts of Proverbs. Now, I haven't done a reconstructive reading of the entire Bible, but I can look at most things and see, if it looks like a duck and swims like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So, from what I've seen, I would say most of it is propaganda. All right, so that is it for today on propaganda. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.